Big news surrounding the San Francisco 49ers as it does appear. Christian McCaffrey, the reigning offensive player of the year, is in fact getting ready for his return, and it looks like he will make his season debut against the Bucks. All things going well, and we'll talk about the things that need to go well in order for him to come back. But we have updates on Jawan Jennings. We have updates on some other players, Debo Samuel, and some other situations going on with the team and injuries. So we're going to talk about all of those things, throw our reactions to it, and also discuss some 49ers win over the Cowboys on this Victory Monday. So you guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. Smash that like button if you haven't already. The San Francisco 49ers get a big win heading into the bye. And boy, did they need it in the biggest way. Let's talk about it all right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Oh boy. The San Francisco 49ers get the win against the Dallas Cowboys. And boy, did they have to have that one. Thank goodness they were able to respond after that loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. They are able to get to 500 throughout the first 4 games of the year. Obviously, when you look at the 49ers and you look at the couple games that they lost, obviously they could be much better in the win column, but it is what it is, and it's about getting back to form and going out and executing on the second half of the season. They get a much needed break coming up with the bye, and we have some fantastic news coming on the opposite side of the bye, as well as it does appear that 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey will be trending towards returning next week. Now, this is what the plan is this week, according to Kyle Shanahan. They're going to simulate practice this week. My assumption is they're going to kind of work him through a mock practice, warm-ups, individuals, some mock team period. Just get him back into the groove of being out on the field, working his cuts, making his moves, doing those types of things prior to other bodies being around. They want to make sure that he is good to go, and I really do believe he is very, very, very close. If he can get through these simulated practices this week without any setbacks, and he has not had any setbacks up until this point, the San Francisco 49ers will absolutely be opening up Christian McCaffrey's 21-day practice window the following week, and you can almost guarantee that CMC will play against the Bucks again. Knock on wood, whatever you need to do. But it does appear that we are on the verge of getting the reigning offensive player of the year back into the offense. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers have done a pretty solid job. Again, it hasn't been consistent. It hasn't been to the level that we have come to know regarding the San Francisco 49ers in regards to what we expect, especially with how they started the season in 2023. It's kind of the polar opposite to how they started this year. Slow, disjointed, inconsistent, penalty ridden, and they still find themselves 4-4. So I think there's a lot of things that we can take away from this first half of the season and how they can continue to stack and build towards the second half of the season. Part of it starts with getting arguably the best player on your entire team back. Now, obviously, that isn't going to fix everything, right? It's not going to fix penalties. It's not going to fix, some certain situational play calling that maybe some people have issues with in certain areas. But I think it will definitely relieve a lot of stress. But I do think one of the positives of Christian McCaffrey being out, and really, like, how many positives can there be of losing your offensive player of the year at the beginning of the season? Well, the positives are that Jordan Mason has been certified as a legitimate NFL running back. Now, this is something that a lot of us have believed for the last couple years, but he just wasn't given the opportunities. So we only saw in little glimpses. We've seen a big enough sample size to know that Jordan Mason is a quality runner, and you can find success with an offense with Jordan Mason as your starting running back. And not only that, yes, we have a Jordan Mason update, so we'll get to him here in a second as well. But Isaac Guerendo is probably not getting these snaps. Isaac Guerendo is probably not getting these carries if Christian McCaffrey is healthy through the first portion of the year. And we've seen Isaac Guerendo, the more and more he gets opportunities, the better and better he's getting. And he's not getting those ops if you have Christian McCaffrey in this lineup. So now the San Francisco 49ers, who are expecting Christian McCaffrey back on the opposite side of the bye, have a little bit of a three-headed monster on their hands in regards to their running backs. McCaffrey, Mason, and Guerendo heading into the stretch run of the season. Not bad. Not too bad. But let's get into the rest of the updates before we kind of talk about the Dallas game and talk about what we expect for the remaining portion of the season. We also have Jauan Jennings. Jauan Jennings is expected to return after the bye and should be good to go against the Bucs. Another welcome sign for the San Francisco 49ers offense. Again, man, they've been banged up more than we want to give them credit for. Obviously, BA had the slow start with the holdout. He was starting to get up to speed. Jauan Jennings filled in very, very well for both, Deebo Samuel and BA as they were kind of working back. And he gets hurt. He goes down with a hip injury. He misses the last 2 weeks, but Jauan Jennings is expected to return and be ready to go for the Bucs. So you're getting him back. That's two big pieces to the offense that the San Francisco 49ers will be getting. But again, also the same thing applies with Jauan, and the same thing applies with Brandon Ayuk. Although those aren't the things that you want to see, you don't want to see your players get banged up and you don't want to see them miss games. It has forced the rookies into duty. It has forced guys like Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall looked like a guy against the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm really excited with that development. In only his second game in the NFL and extended snaps, Ricky Pearsall looks like a guy that is slowly building a rapport with Brock Purdy, finding his footing within the offense. And man, as it continues to go on, it is going to get better. And I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm also looking forward to getting Jauan Jennings back. We have a small Dre Greenlaw update, and I will get to that here shortly. Let's work our way through. In regards to some of the injuries that the 49ers were dealing with in this game against the Dallas Cowboys, Chris Conley has a hamstring injury. He is considered week to week. And as it stands right now, he does have a chance to be able to be good to go for the Bucs, but again, that requires them to reevaluate where he is after the bye, and we will see if Chris Conley will be able to go or not. Deebo Samuel dealing with ribs oblique type injury. He is all day to day, but he will also be reevaluated after the bye week as well. I believe that he was injured on that one play down by the goal line where he kind of got tackled low and then hit high and bent backwards. That is my own personal kind of speculation of the play that he got hurt. I don't know if that is it or not, but he is definitely a little bit banged up. So, but thankfully, we got a bye week. We got a week off and let these guys get healthy, let the bodies rest a little bit, and man, have an opportunity to attack outside the bye. And Jordan Mason also re aggravated his shoulder. Now, we don't know what the extent of that injury exactly is. Obviously, he's been dealing with it for the last couple weeks now. But thankfully, again, they have a bye week. That's going to give him at least a week and a half off before they get ready for practice again. They will have a bonus practice kind of sprinkled in there. But it is expected that he could have a shot to return. But again, they will have to reevaluate that as next week gets closer, or the following, or the week after the bye, I should say. And we will have a better opportunity to see what is going on with them. And in regards to Dre Greenlaw, no real update on Dre Greenlaw just yet. It does sound like before they really, it sounds like they're going to get to the other side of the bye, and then they will get into a week to week scenario. So it honestly doesn't sound like Dre Greenlaw is really that too far off. It sounds like once they get through to the bye and they start to be able to evaluate him a little bit closer, a little bit better, they will then put him on a week to week status. And that could be, so this is the date that I threw out. I think that you have, so out of the bye, week 10 against the Bucks. Then you have Seahawks at home November 17th and Green Bay November 24th. Best case scenario for Dre Greenlaw is he returns against the Packers. I think a realistic potential target is either Bills or Bears. And again, this is purely speculation based on them saying week to week after the bye. I don't think you bring him back against the Bucks. Maybe you open up the practice window the week of week 11. It does sound like you'd potentially want to get him into practice a week or so, and then don't bring him back against the Seahawks. And then you go on a back-to-back road trip in the elements, Packers, Bills. The 49ers might say, you know what, we don't want to bring back Dre on the road. Maybe field conditions aren't ideal, considering there might be some weather conditions at that time. Then you could theoretically potentially see Dre Greenlaw return week 14 against the Bears December 18th, which would give him the opportunity to play against Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Lions, and Cardinals. And any Dre Greenlaw in 2024, I will take. I will not complain. I will, whatever it is. I think, again, with what we've seen with how they've managed this Christian McCaffrey injury, man, you got to be careful. You can't push these guys through these injuries. We saw Dre really try to push through it. He was dealing with the tendonitis all throughout Super Bowl week, and we saw how that thing gave out on him at the Super Bowl. So you don't want to see a repeat of that. And you just want to make sure Dre's healthy. And the hope is by that time, the 49ers are squarely in the middle of the playoff push. And as a result of being in the playoff push, you get a jolt of energy by getting Dre Greenlaw back into the mix. I can't wait to get Dre back. He is not only a physical leader out there, he is an emotional leader. He plays with so much intensity, so much viciousness. He's a smart player, obviously very aggressive player. It's one of the things I do appreciate about him. And getting getting Dre back would be so big for this group. I really, really do think that it would just completely re-energize this defense that's kind of been up and down throughout the year. But you also have to give credit to Sorensen and this defense. The defense has been doing its part. Now, obviously not perfect, just like the offense hasn't been perfect, and just like the special teams hasn't been perfect. I don't think we can say any form of the San Francisco 49ers have been perfect this year, but that's also fine. I don't expect football to be perfection. So that isn't a standard that I'm really holding this team to, but I do think that the 49ers are inching closer and closer and closer to playing complementary football. Like, let's face it, in this game against the Dallas Cowboys, offense wasn't really clicking. A lot of penalties, some things were going down, wasn't really working, only able to score 6 points, not being able to convert drives into touchdowns. And the 49ers defense did keep them to 10 points in the first half, and then kind of kept them under wraps and got a couple turnovers. Diamador Lenore with an interception. You had Jair Brown with the interception. And then the 49ers came out at halftime like ready to go. And they were making plays. Defense was doing their part. Now, obviously, the defense gave up the 2 touchdowns late to CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys offense, and that kind of made everyone get a little tense. But again, they were able to hold on at the very end, and they were able to get it done. And I think again, it's yes, you want to see just well put together wins, but at the same time, I almost feel like the grittiness of this season, I think, is good for this team. I think it's good for this roster. I think it's good for them to be able to kind of exercise that anxiety really early on in the season. So if they're placed in the pressure cooker later on down the line, they're equipped to handle it. They're equipped to move through this. It's no we've only played 8 games in this season, but we've had 3 must-win games. Like, that's an interesting place to be in for a team. First 8 games of the year, 3 of them they considered must-win. And that's like, if you had to prepare mentally for a playoff matchup, that's what it is. You can't simulate must win. Must win is must win. Must win is, man, if we don't win this one, man, it's all going to crap, right? Like, so you can't simulate that feeling. You can't simulate those types of experiences. They've already lived it 3 times this season. And if they can continue to fine tune, execute, pull the right levers when they need to, this team has the opportunity to really roll into shape, I think, at the right time. And that's really the biggest thing right now, is that as long as they are firing on all cylinders at the end of the season, they are squarely in the middle of the playoff push. They are squarely in the middle of trying to win their division, and they start heating up at the end of the season. That's all that really matters. Obviously, if we drew it up, we're not losing to the Rams, we're not losing to the Cardinals, right? We're in a better spot. You're 6-2 opposed to 4-4. We're in a better spot, even if you take the 2 L's against the Vikings and the Chiefs, and you leave those there. If you're 6-2 as the San Francisco 49ers right now, the perception around the first portion of the season is much different. So I do think the early tests, the early adversity, the early trials, I think could actually benefit them because I do believe in the way this team is built and the makeup of it. Um, it's one of the reasons why I have never hit the panic button. We got close. We were we were scratching at it. Like we were like, "Oh, we got close. Oh, never fully hit the panic button." Because again, we understand it's a long season and things can change in a hurry. 49ers production says, I'm so happy right now with the news. Thank you so much, Brad, for the news. Well, thank you, 49ers Productions, and thank you to the San Francisco 49ers for giving us some good news today about Christian McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings, no serious injuries to come out of that game against the Dallas Cowboys. And it does sound like reinforcements could be coming later on down the stretch. So I think that's an exciting spot to be in. I think as long as the San Francisco 49ers can keep improving with the small things are going to compound into large things. And I think that's really where it's at. There's not a ton of like gaping holes that this team needs to plug, but there are little ones that they need to fix and kind of patch up. And if they can keep patching up all these little holes, they're going to be getting to a spot where they're going to be able to really do some damage. So I think that opens up kind of another element to this is, are the 49ers buyers and sellers? And I know over the last 3 weeks it's kind of been up and down, with the loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. I know some people kind of dipped into the seller category. But I do believe that right now, as I've said from the very beginning, until the 49ers are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, go out and get what you can. And that doesn't mean leveraging your future to just throw draft picks at bodies to bring them in, being smart about it, finding guys that can be had at value. Just like today, Josh Uche was traded to the Chiefs for a 6th-round draft pick, a 6th-rounder for a starting edge defender in this league. I believe he's like 25, 26 years old, not even that old. And they go out and they add more talent to their defensive line. So, and those are the types of moves that I would like to see the San Francisco 49ers be aggressive in. Is I think there's multiple positions. I think interior defensive tackle, edge, and wide receiver. I think those are the 3 top ones. I think with the optimism surrounding Dre Greenlaw, I think they're okay at linebacker. I think D Winters, Devondre Campbell, they're kind of working in and doing what they can. But I think you can withstand with the current linebacker depth until Dre Greenlaw returns. And then with interior defensive tackle depth, obviously you lose Javon Hargrave. You didn't have Kevin Givens in this one. Getting an interior defensive tackle would be clutch. Getting more speed on the edge would be clutch, in my opinion. I think Sam Okwuonu has been phenomenal for the San Francisco 49ers. I wasn't anticipating him to be making an impact at all. Really this season was, he was kind of a surprise to make the roster. He was kind of cut right after that because they had to do a little bit of roster shuffling, but he's back and he has been phenomenal. You're going to get Yetur Gross-Matos back. He's also a guy that has inside-out versatility, so you'll be getting those reinforcements back. But Yetur Gross-Matos isn't necessarily a speed rusher, so I think if you go out and try to get some speed, I think of guys like Azeez Ojulari, Nick Herbig, these kind of these smaller package defensive ends that are all about quick twitch and speed. And we know the 49ers like to rotate on defense, on the defensive line. So if you get a guy like Herbig, you get a guy like Azeez Ojulari into that rotation, and you can really start firing off um, some legitimate speed on the opposite side of Nick Bosa. Obviously, Leonard Floyd's had kind of a quiet season. So I think if you could help Floyd with a speed rush, obviously Sam O has been showing inside out versatility. They got Robert Beal. I think Robert Beal was a little bit banged up in this game as well. They just don't have depth. They don't have the depth right now for the defensive line. So I think if you can go and attack either one of those positions and you can improve um, with a situational player, if you can get your hands on a starter, even better. But if you can get your hands on a cost-effective situational rotational player, I do think that would be ideal for the defensive line. Azeez Ojulari is a name that comes to my mind that I think would fit that role extremely well. Defensive tackles obviously were linked to DeForest Buckner this weekend. They were also linked to DJ Jones. Those obviously could also be guys that they lean on as well, or try to go after, see what the cost is. I don't know if that would actually occur. But yeah, I think the 49ers being 4-4, suffering some pretty devastating injuries early on. I do think that I'd be all in. I'm still all in. I think I don't think that has really ever changed for me. Again, as long as the 49, you say there's a chance, you say there's an opportunity to get into the playoffs. All right, we attack it. We go and we do what we need to do. If we need to make moves, we make moves. Again, the moves are to more supplement what you have and not necessarily replace. Like with a wide receiver trade, I don't think you're replacing Brandon Ayuk. It's more of a supplement of the depth. You're more insulating the depth within the room to be able to get a wide receiver that you actually can rely on from a veteran standpoint. A guy who has found success in the NFL, just isn't working out with his current spot. You can get him for, a what did DeAndre Hopkins go for? A 5th round draft pick. That means you can get someone else for significantly less. I would say if you go out and get it, if you want to go high end, you're probably thinking Deontay Johnson. I still think that might be 5. That still might be like a 5th rounder for Deontay. I still don't think it would be all that much. Just based on where he's at with his career. I'd have to look to see what the trade was to get him to the Panthers. The Panthers might have a little bit of PTSD from trading with the 49ers since the Christian McCaffrey trade. So we'll see if they'd be willing to send Deontay Johnson the 49ers way. But I think Darius Slayton is another name that has been thrown around. He's super underrated. He can win outside. He can win over the middle. He's got good routes. He's got good hands. He's, I think, 27 years old. If you could, man, what would be the ideal trade for me is if you could get a package of Azeez Ojulari and Slayton, and you send them both over. You send them both over to the 49ers. We'll take Slayton. We'll take Azeez. Let's go. Let's ride. If you can add into your defensive tackle, from somewhere else, even better. I know a name like Christian Kirk was mentioned as a potential trade target, but he is now out for the season. So his name's off the board. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Cooper Kupp, I just have a really hard time seeing the Rams trade Cooper Cup to the 49ers. I don't know, and I think Cooper might be a little bit too expensive. And with that win that they had, I also feel like it's less likely that they trade Cooper Cup because I mean, man, when that team looks when you have Cooper Cup and you have uh Puka Nakua and you have Kyron Williams, they look a little bit like a different offense. When you have all your weapons, right? Shocking that your offense looks different when you have your top weapons. Um, but I don't know. I'm kind of the mindset that I think the Rams are going to try to go on a run. Now, if you wanted like a Tutu Atwell, that would be a name I would be interested in. I think again you could get him for a value. Um, he might be in the final year of his rookie contract. I'm not really sure. But he did show that when, given the opportunities, he can make plays. He's got a ton of speed. He's a guy that I've been kind of watching since the draft. If you could somehow maybe get your hands on Tutu Atwell for cheap, I'd consider that. I don't know if the Rams would. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they would do that, but you know, but I feel like we did see an in division trade recently. Was it the Rams and the Seahawks? Did they swap linebackers? I think they may have. So we'll see. Um, how about Mike Williams from the Jets? I'm honestly out on Mike Williams. I would not want to execute that trade. At one point, was a big fan of Mike Williams, but I'm out on that. I just think that he's way too injury prone, and I think we need separators. I think we need guys who can get open. He's a jump ball 50-50 contested catch kind of a guy. Great, probably one of the top contested catch wide receivers in the league when he's healthy. But that's it when he's healthy. He's hurt so often. Wouldn't be the one that I necessarily want. Another name that is an interesting one is the wide receiver from the Browns. Now, I don't he has all the talent in the world. I think he's very talented, but he has just been so mediocre in his time in the NFL up until this point. But he did have a nice game just this last week. Elijah Moore is an interesting one because he's 24 years old. He was a high draft pick, and he has a pretty solid skill set. Just has never really come to fruition. He got traded early from the New York Jets to the Browns. Browns is basically where wide receivers potential goes to die. The Browns just churn out. They just it's literally a terrible place for wide receivers. But Jameis Winston comes out. They get the win over the Ravens. Do they try to make a run at it? They're 2-6. I don't know. Or do they just try to sell and recoup pieces in what seems to be another lost year? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Jordan Elliott, I think he went. I saw it posted on, I think KNBR's social, where he floated the idea of trading for David Njoku. And see, that's the type of good stuff that I would expect from a galaxy brain thinker like Jordan Elliott of NBC Sports Bay Area, is getting David Njoku, pairing him with George Kittle, and then you have two of these freak of natures at tight end running around a Kyle Shanahan offense, shifting him all over the field. Um, you could obviously use two tight end sets and obvious running downs. You could absolutely flex both of them out and spread it out and try to get mismatches on the outside. I was like, damn, that's a great idea, Jordan. It's like, Jordan, phenomenal idea. I wish I thought of that. David Njoku with George Kittle. I was like, yeah, that's an option. That's a different route to go. And honestly, I think, considering how much the 49ers love running two tight ends out on the field, and Sauber obviously had the big penalty that kind of erased a a touchdown, and Sauber isn't really a receiving threat, whereas as Njoku is a real weapon. Njoku is a real weapon. He is a guy that you could really take advantage of, um, and really put defensive coordinators in hell with those two guys. So I didn't think about that until Jordan said it, and I was like, "Damn, this is why he's the GOAT, is because that is a phenomenal idea." Because again, who uses more I don't even know the answer to this, but it feels like the 49ers use more two tight end sets than anyone else. Um, back it up, Terry. We ain't getting one for 21. Yeah, I don't know. 12 would be nice. A little bit more 12. A little bit more 12. Hey, Kyle likes 12, man. He really does. He really, really does. But I don't know. I think the 49ers should be interested in looking at all options. I do think that you got to be able to turn over every stone, and you got to be. I expect John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to be aggressive. If there's anything we know about John Lynch, he's picking up the phones. He's making calls, and he's looking for things to go down. So I'm for it. We'll see what happens. We'll see what goes down. But man, what a great day. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Boy, we needed that win in the worst way. San Francisco 49ers take down Dallas. No serious injuries. Does sound like Christian McCaffrey will be on the mend here pretty soon. CMC back into the offense. Jawan Jennings is going to be back into the offense. Dre Greenlaw sounds like he's about a month away, so we'll see how that continues to progress. But boy, oh boy, did we need that win. I will be coming back in probably about a half an hour, and we'll do the offensive film breakdown. Man, what a breath of fresh air the tape was this week opposed to last week. Last week to me, although it was gross, it did feel like an outlier because of how gross it was. The tape was so bad that it was like there's no way that this is who this team is. There's just no way. Like it was you guys know me. Like I'm always trying to find the good plays because you can find bad plays in everyone. It's super easy. Like it's super easy to find bad plays. It takes no actual like it's really easy to find bad plays um in wins or losses. But sometimes in losses we're trying to like find the silver lining, and that in that tape there wasn't a silver lining. And I've never watched a 49ers offensive performance that was like that. So this performance against the Dallas Cowboys, like we're going to talk about that first half and how they only scored 6 points. And man, it looked better to me on tape than it did watching live in that first half. And then you see them kind of get it into gear in the second half. So definitely has the arrow pointing up. So we'll get into the film breakdown. I would say probably check in around 3:30 on. I'll probably do it just on the YouTube channel. So YouTube and Facebook. I don't think I'm going to stream that one to Twitter, but we will do it on YouTube and Facebook like we typically do. And I would say look out for that in about 30 minutes. But I wanted to get out these updates, kind of talk about, the other things, and we'll be back to do the film live film breakdown, film watch, film review, whatever you want to call it. We'll be back in about 30 minutes. Appreciate all of you guys. I'm out of here for now. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to